Charlamagne apologized to Kwame Brown and his family after that really odd statement in his program The Breakfast Club. But was that apology real? Hello and welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas and I'm the body language guy. Let's find out. Why did Charlamagne have to apologize? Well, he was doing his program, The Breakfast Club, and at some point he began to talk about Kwame Brown. It seems like his intention was to tell people to stop messing with Kwame, but what he said next about his family was a little confusing.
Leave Kwame Brown alone. Kwame's father in the 90s, I remember this story. He beat a woman with an axe handle. It was his girlfriend. And the rumor was he buried her alive. But his other brother shot his baby mama several times and then killed himself. That was like in '08. And his other brother, Kwame's other brother, just went to jail for murder like 3 years ago. All of this you can Google. I'm saying all that to say, leave Kwame alone.
I must confess that the first time I heard that, I thought it was sarcasm. He was actually roasting Kwame. When Instagram exploded, Kwame recalled Charlamagne and Charles from 20 years ago, and it escalated from there. That's why Charlamagne decided to record this apology. Let's see if you can spot the body language signal right at the start.
Donkey today for Monday, May 24th goes to me, Leonard McKelvey. Donkey today for Monday, May 24th goes to me, Leonard McKelvey.
That click he does with his mouth when he says that donkey of the day is going to be for himself means that he doesn't like to be apologizing for this. Radio and podcast professionals are like any other human being, and they make sounds with their mouths, just like the rest of us. But when you get used to working live, you'll learn to mute those sounds. So if you heard that click, it's that he's upset and didn't mind to let it slip. Now, in his program, he seems to have a tight script or at least very thorough notes about what he's going to say. Was this the case?
Leonard McKelvey. Contrary to popular belief, this is not the first time I've given myself Donkey of the Day because Donkey of the Day does not discriminate. I mean, I may be kind of biased towards certain people, but I don't have any bias when it comes to my...
Apologies should always be spontaneous. I understand the need for a script, but when you read, you lose some of that spontaneity. Charlamagne has enough experience to sound natural while reading, but a lot of people were going to watch the video, so confirming that he was reading the apology, as in the hand adjusting the laptop scroll and his eyes obviously running over the screen, it takes away some of his credibility. Also notice that when he says that he is in Donkey of the Day, he tilts his head away. That's another emotional reaction of thinking that he shouldn't be doing that. There's also a voice clue when he talks about being biased towards other people but not himself.
I mean, I may be kind of biased towards certain people, but I don't have any bias when it comes to myself. I mean, I may be kind of biased towards certain people, but I don't have any bias when it comes to myself.
That emphasis in the word biased is a little confusing. He says that he's not biased towards himself, like when it's time to acknowledge something, he just does it, right? Like this apology. Then what's the bias to other people? If you're comparing bias to yourself and bias to others, it should be a contrast. He doesn't cut himself some slack, then does it mean that he cuts other people some slack? That doesn't have much sense, and the segment Donkey of the Day is just for that, to expose people. So that extra punch in the word biased is a bit of aggression, I guess, to the backlash that forced him to issue this apology. When the actual apology comes, he does the same mouth click again. Let's see if you can hear it.
I want to apologize to Kwame Brown and Kwame Brown's family. I want to apologize to Kwame Brown and Kwame Brown's family.
This time is much more subtle, but it's there. And as I said, if you have some experience in radio or podcasts, you know that those clicks sound awful. And it's not like you're gonna turn completely away like the chocolate rain guy, but you learn how to hide them. And there's proof in the video of him talking about Kwame's father.
Kwame's father in the 90s, I remember this story. He beat a woman with an axe handle. It was his girlfriend. Kwame's father in the 90s, I remember this story. He beat a woman with an axe handle. It was his girlfriend.
Did you spot that? It's the same movement of the mouth, but this time there was no sound. He's mindful of that, but not while apologizing. Those loud clicks could also mean that he's got more saliva than usual, and it could be from being upset. Saliva build-up can mean that you're nervous, that you're upset, sometimes that you're lying, or some kind of distress. And there are other body language signals that back this up.
Stop doing. That's something that we all have to stop doing. I was talking to my Sacred Purpose coach, Yadi Alba, this weekend. You're a success, okay? If you work 13 years anywhere and make that kind of money, you a success.
Those are pacifying gestures. They also have a variety of meanings, and being just nervous is one of them. As in any body language analysis, you keep stacking signals that have similar meaning until you reach a conclusion. You can never jump to conclusions from a single gesture. In this case, I don't think he's nervous because there's no immediate threat. He's talking inside his usual workplace and there is no rush. Instead, the body language clues point to just be uncomfortable about this. Now, there is another body language clue that we should mention because he does it a couple times throughout the apology.
I went low. That wasn't my intention, but in hindsight, it was low. Me, Leonard McKelvey, I have never claimed to be perfect. In fact, I'm far from it.
I have a love-hate relationship with the hand-on-chest gesture. I understand we sometimes do it to talk from the heart or to talk about ourselves, but in some situations it simply doesn't work. In fact, if you're going to apologize for something, I strongly suggest that you refrain from doing it because most probably you're going to have the opposite effect of what you're trying to convey. Notice how one of those hard touches ends grabbing the cords of his hoodie. That's another gesture that has the same meaning as the previous ones of being upset. There are some clues about this apology being real, just like this.
That's why I always say success is subjective, okay? My views of success may be different than yours. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. But we didn't even get into that conversation because my mind automatically went to something that it didn't even have to go to. In doing that, I unintentionally caused trauma. And since I unintentionally caused trauma, I have to be intentional about causing healing. I'm not about...
It's good when someone is talking about having messed up, and you can see the same emotional body language markers that you'd see in a regular conversation. Maybe you won't have the same attitude of a regular conversation, and you shouldn't. But the way you talk will send signals, and trying to be as spontaneous as you can, even if reading straight from a computer screen, helps a lot to convey that message, to convey that feeling to the people listening to you, and in this case, also watching you. Now, in every apology, it's important to notice what people are wearing. Sometimes people wear light colors on purpose, or they wear neutral colors, or toned down colors, or so that way you bring less attention to yourself, so there's nothing to distract from your message. But if wearing light or neutral colors tries to divert attention away, wearing vibrant colors do the exact opposite. And we can imagine that Charlamagne woke up that day, saw the mess on Instagram, told himself, gotta do something about this shit, man, and then put on the yellow hoodie. So yellow that I wouldn't be surprised that it's got a Pikachu on the back. Well, there's a lightning on the front, so it's a good guess. But wearing yellow, whether it was intentional or not, maybe it was subconscious, but even if it wasn't intentional, it's a way of expressing the idea that he, in fact, doesn't want to hide anything, don't want to back from anything that he said. Like saying, hey, I'm here and I stand by my words. I shouldn't be doing this apology. Now let's put your skills to the test. Listen to Charlamagne's words here and try to get the underlying message.
Okay. So when I say I sincerely apologize to Kwame Brown and his family and the family of Bill Brown and Monk's Corner, I mean that. Only thing I'm responsible for is my energy in recognizing my own insanity. And Eckhart Tolle once said to recognize one's own insanity is, of course, the arising of sanity, the beginning of healing and transcendence.
In every apology, it's important to reinforce your message. Reinforce the fact that you are sorry and people be absolutely clear why you're apologizing. But sometimes that you should never do is try to soften your burden. Notice that he talks about recognizing his own insanity and then he quotes Eckhart Tolle and then says that recognizing that insanity leads to something higher. Alright, any other scenario is good to say something like that, but not an apology, because it looks like you're trying to divert the focus away from your responsibility. I think Charlamagne's apology was not the greatest one. Even trying to sound natural, the moment that you apologize reading from a screen, you will sound like Teddy Westbrook, and boy, you don't want to sound like Teddy Westbrook. I still don't know, please enlighten me, my body language buddies, if this first statement to Kwame was encouragement or roasting. If it was encouragement, as in, please don't mess with Kwame, leave Kwame alone, and then proceed to cherry pick every single thing that is wrong with his family, then it's the most tone-deaf encouragement words that I've heard in a long time. Maybe Charlamagne was trying to say that Kwame managed to raise from his family and he managed to overcome what was going on around him on a personal level. But it sounded awful to say the least. One question remains. What do you think? It will be great if you share it in the comments. I've got more videos that you can check to keep polishing your body language abilities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any of my new body language episodes and tips. See you next time.